Hi there, welcome to bitesizeblender.com. Yet another short tutorial. In this one we're going to be examining how to add objects, your basic objects, which are mesh objects. Mesh objects are the things that we can make stuff of. We're also going to look quickly at cameras and lights, and maybe a couple of other things just thrown in. Also the properties of each object that we can add in there, and a few extras as well. I've deleted the camera and the light and the cube from this default scene. And what we'll do is we're just going to add it back in to make our default scene again. Quickest way in Blender is to do Shift A, and that will give us the add menu, and I want to add a mesh, which is an object, and I'm going to add in my cube. I can move my cube either by the G key to grab it and start to move it about in 3D space, or I can use the left mouse button and start to push and pull it from any one of these arrows. So I'm moving it now in the x-axis, and I can also grab it, move it up and down in the y, and again in the z, up and down. If I tried to render that now, I couldn't because I don't have a camera. So the next thing I'm going to add is a camera. Again, Shift A, add, and down on my list is a camera. Camera's now pointing directly in front of it, so I'm going to press 1 just to align my viewport, and Control Alt 0, which will align my camera. And there's my Passepartout. And I'm going to align that now. I can use the G key to grab it because it's highlighted, and I can move around and I can see my cube. Now again, I could hit F12 to render this, but it's going to be a very dark scene. So I've got that outline there. That's my cube, but I need some light on it. So if I press escape, come out of my little render view, and I'm going to add in a light. Shift A, back to my add menu, and I need to add a lamp. There's various different types of lamp. They all have different properties, but they also all provide light. So in this instance, I'm just going to add a sun, which is a nice type of large light. G key to grab this light, and I'm going to bring it up above the default cube. At this time, I'm also going to change my renderer from the Cycles renderer just to the Blender internal renderer, which is nice and quick for showing examples. Hit F12 to render my scene, and there I have it. I have light coming from the top of the object, and I have lots of nice shadows, so I could add in several other lights and illuminate my object. I'm going to press 1 just to come back to my front view, and A to unselect, and I'm going to add in a few other objects. So Shift A to add, and from the mesh we can add in various other things. Good ones to start with are things like circle. If we add in a circle, it normally adds it from the top perspective, and it's normally non-filled, so what you have is just a circle, a line around. If you want an actual filled circle, you need to tick the fill button. You have to do it at the start. If you don't do it at the start, you lose the option to fill the circle. If I press the dot, the delete key on the numpad, this will take us in, and I can press 7 to look from on top, and there's my filled circle. There's various other items around the circle that you can increase and decrease, which is the number of vertices that are used to make the circle. So you can make it very, very smooth, but of course adding in vertices, you're taking up more memory, taking up more processing power. Likewise, you might actually just say, I just need a very basic one, and I need it to be, let's say, 16-sided, and you get a very rough circle. Very low on processing power, very quick to render. You can also modify the radius from over here. You don't need to use the scale function. That's pretty much about it for the circle. Shift A, we're going to add a different object. So we're going to do things now like a sphere. So we add in a UV sphere. I'll do a G to grab that. I'm just going to put it over the top of the circle for a moment. Now it doesn't look terribly pretty to start with, but that is by design. Okay? When you're using this and editing, that is its default. That's the way it looks. On this top menu, you can actually click the shading type and change it from flat to smooth, and that's what most people want to see, a beautiful shaded sphere. So you can do that. I'll right click. I'm actually going to delete my circle. If I can change that back, I'll do that later on. I'll just delete the sphere and move on to different objects. Shift A, add in. We've got various other things. Brilliant. Cylinder. So we could always just insert a circle and we could extrude it up, so scale up the sides and we give ourselves a cylinder, or we can add that straight in. We can do a cone, very simple. We can add in a grid, a monkey, which is also known as a Suzanne, a torus, which is a donut, and then there are various different add-ins. Now an add-in is always signified by this sort of plugin icon here. So we've got a bolt factory, there's also various other extra objects you can use, there's various solids, pyramids, there's also a rock generator, so you could actually just generate different types of rock. But the key primitives, as they're known, are these up here. A plane, very, very useful. If you add in a plane, you literally get a flat object, two-sided, and that can be a ground plane. If you want to start creating a room and you get very few properties, you wouldn't really want to smooth shade it because it's literally just a flat object. The ones you might want to smooth shade would be circles, the sphere, cylinders, that sort of stuff. There's not much other details about adding and sort of editing basic objects. They're your keys for meshes, so you could very simply start adding in circles, rectangles and other objects and create some basic renderable sort of 3D images. Okay, thank you for watching this tutorial.